You know, sometimes life throws you a scene so quiet and cold that it feels like the whole world's holding its breath, and then, out of nowhere, something breaks through that silence. It was one of those nights when the storm had chased everyone inside, every street swallowed in snow and shadow, but there was one man and his dog still out there, pushing through the blizzard like it was nothing new. Officer Jack Carter and his loyal German shepherd, Rocky. Neither expected much that night, but they found a miracle instead. Jack was 35, a cop worn down by more winters than he cared to count, and grief that stuck to him like the cold. 5 years earlier, his daughter Lily vanished, just steps from their home during a snowstorm, swallowed up by the white nothingness. Since then, Jack had been a man marked by loss, carrying that silence like armor. Rocky, for years old and battle-scarred from a warehouse fire, was more than a partner. He was instinct, calm, and something close to a guardian spirit wrapped in fur. That night, the call came in. A pedestrian reported seeing a child alone on a park bench near Northridge Park. No details, no confirmation, just a feeling that something wasn't right. Jack didn't hesitate. He turned the cruiser toward the park, Rocky alert beside him, sensing what words couldn't reach. The town was asleep under a blanket of snow. Even the streetlights blinked for no one. At the park gates, wind howled through bare trees and snow swirled thick. But Rocky stopped, ears up, body tense. There, beneath a flickering lamp, was a tiny figure, a little girl no older than 5, sitting frozen on the bench, her dark hair tangled, her coat threadbare and faded beneath the frost. Clutched tightly in her arms was a stuffed bear, battered and soaked, one eye missing, a crude black heart drawn over its chest. Her small shoulders trembled, but no sound came from her lips. Jack crouched down, his breath fogging in the icy air, and wrapped her carefully in his emergency blanket, his fingers brushing her ice-cold skin. The girl leaned gently against him, just barely still holding on. Rocky settled beside her like a shield, silent and steady. Jack whispered softly, "Don't let go. We're here now." The storm raged around them, but inside that moment, something had shifted. They had found her. Meanwhile, in the ER, Claire Bennett adjusted her coat and listened as paramedics brought in a woman unconscious from a car crash, a jacket for a child found in the back seat, but no sign of the kid. Claire's heart tightened. Somewhere out there, a child might still be alone. Back at the park, Jack studied the girl, translucent pale, lips tinged purple, fingers stiff and white. The stuffed bear wasn't just a toy, it was a lifeline, a piece of her that refused to let go. Rocky's watchful eyes never left the girl, sensing her fragility like a compass locked on true north. Jack knew she wouldn't last much longer outside, that the cold was already stealing her away. But he wasn't about to let that happen. With gentle hands, he cradled her in a fleece wrap, carrying her like fragile spun sugar through the snow-covered paths. The way her body felt weightless made his chest ache. She was slipping, but not yet gone. Rocky led the way, navigating the frozen playground and sidewalks as Jack shielded the girl with his coat, the storm pressing against them like a living thing. At the hospital, Sarah Ellis stirred, bruised, tired. A single mother who'd worked double shifts to keep her family afloat. Her hands were rough from years of hard work, her face worn but kind, etched with the battles of everyday life. When the nurse told her about the accident and asked about her daughter Emily, Sarah's voice cracked. "Emily? Where's Emily? She's 5. She has a bear named Buttons. Did someone find her?" Jack placed the girl gently in the cruiser's back seat, wrapping her in everything he had, scarves, blankets, even his gloves. Rocky settled close, a silent guardian pressed against the girl's boots. Jack hadn't said Lily's name aloud in years, but that night, it whispered in his mind again, tangled with hope and grief. The radio silence on his phone was grim, no signal, no way to reach out. The note in the girl's coat pocket was the only clue. Emily Ellis, a number scrawled half-faded on government paper, no address, no family. Jack drove slowly through the same streets he'd known so well 5 years ago, the night his daughter disappeared, memories weighing down every turn. Claire met them at the hospital, her scrubs crisp, but her eyes shadowed with exhaustion and sorrow. She hadn't seen Jack in years, but in that moment, they shared an unspoken understanding. They moved quickly, preparing the girl for care, while Rocky, reluctantly led away to rest, kept vigil from a quiet corner. Vital signs were weak, but there was fight left in Emily. Claire's voice softened as she examined the girl. She was stable, though battered, a spark of life amid the storm's destruction. Then came the connection. Sarah Ellis had been admitted just an hour earlier, unconscious but alive. She'd been looking for Emily, calling her name over and over before losing consciousness. Jack watched as Claire spoke of the mother, broken ribs, concussion, yet alive, a woman who risked everything to find her child. That terrible, familiar knot of what if tightened in his stomach again, the same that haunted him since Lily vanished. Claire told him Emily had whispered not to take the bear away, that buttons will keep me safe. Jack looked at the worn toy beside the child and felt a lump rise in his throat. She reminds me of Lily, he said quietly. Claire nodded, the weight of that truth hanging heavy between them. Hours passed in silence, broken only by beeping monitors and the distant storm howling like a restless spirit outside. Emily's eyes fluttered open finally, unblinking and curious. Her first words, almost a whisper, were for Rocky. "Where's the dog?" Rocky, sensing her voice as if it were his own heartbeat, stretched and placed his paws on the bed's edge. Their reunion was soft and tender, a small hand reaching out to the warm fur, a smile flickering like a fragile flame. Jack watched from the doorway, feeling something crack open inside him, something he thought had been frozen forever. Claire appeared beside him, her usual guarded expression softening as she took in the scene. "She doesn't know where she is yet," Jack said, voice low. "But she remembers him," Claire replied, placing a tentative hand on Jack's shoulder not as an apology, but as recognition of shared pain and hope. Emily spoke to Rocky about Buttons, her bear, telling stories only a child and her dog could understand. Jack broke the silence. "Does this town ever stop breaking people?" Claire smiled sadly. "Every street's got a story. Missing girls, drunk drivers, lost dogs who become heroes. It's a place that eats people, Jack, but maybe it also saves them, bit by bit." Jack sighed. "You still believe that?" "I never stopped," Claire said. Later, Sarah Ellis awoke and asked immediately for Emily. The reunion was messy, full of tears and apologies, a mother holding her daughter close like an anchor in a shifting world. Emily clung to Buttons and Rocky's collar, the two constants in a night filled with chaos. Jack and Claire stepped back, giving them space, the hospital's hum wrapping around the fragile scene. Walking down the corridor, Claire mused, "She reminds me of someone." Jack nodded, silent. "Do you think we ever stop trying to make up for the past?" she asked. "No," he replied after a pause. "But maybe sometimes we get moments that let us start again." Outside, the snow began to melt, leaving slush and footprints, signs that even the coldest storms give way to warmth. Jack sat at his kitchen table days later, a child's drawing pinned to the fridge, a badge-wearing man, a dog, a little girl holding a bear beneath falling snowflakes. Emily's words scrawled across the page, "My hero, Officer Jack and Rocky." Rocky lay at his feet, tail thumping, the weight of the past lifted just a little. When Sarah and Emily stopped by later, brighter and stronger, Jack realized maybe this was more than a rescue. Maybe it was a beginning. A new trauma support group. Jack found himself listening to other kids, each carrying stories too heavy for their age, but when Rocky entered the room, something shifted. Laughter came for the first time. Stories unfolded in crayon and paper, healing in slow, steady strokes. Claire visited too, leaving behind kindness and hope, their shared history slowly knitting them back together. One night, Jack sat on his porch, Rocky by his side. The drawing above the door a quiet testament. Sometimes the smallest souls lead us back to what we've lost: faith, love, and warmth. A little girl, a dog, and a man who thought he'd forgotten how to feel, reminding a town buried in snow that healing is possible. So, what do you think? In a world that so often breaks us, can we find those second chances? Who shows up when everyone else looks away? Share your thoughts below. Is it fate, coincidence, or something more? And if this story touched you, pass it on. Because sometimes, the coldest nights bring the warmest miracles.